stocks that are read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. 40 years helping working families and everyday investors are building over $100 billion in real wealth, one dividend at a time. No other than Mr. Roger Conrad.
Thanks, Daniel.
Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Roger. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Absolutely. Well, I've been in the investment advisory business about since the mid 1980s. And that's basically advising people investments to buy. So I'm pretty much a stock picker by trade. Over the last 40 years, the last 12 of which at our own company, Capitalist Times. I've done some other things as well in the business. So I have a pretty wide ranging expertise. I was on the board of a mutual fund. I've been a money manager. I've spoken at very large conferences. Louis Rukeyser back in the day in Las Vegas used to pack the MGM arena, and I spoke at that conference as well. One of the uh, a real amazing experience. So I spend my time looking at stocks, looking at investments, and talking to my customers, trying to help them find the best stocks for them. I have a pretty strong expertise in utility stocks and energy stocks and dividend stocks overall. So I do have on Substack right now, the forum Substack, dividends with Roger Conrad. And that's a place where I put out a lot of different ideas. If people like what I have to say there, I encourage them to look at our other products at Capitalist Times.
Mr. Roger Conrad, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Thank you so much. And why
Thank you.
is this wealth chef flying under the mainstream radar despite its transformative potential?
Well, I think mainly we have a really strong mix of people, and my origins in the business were with what was called the investment newsletter business. So these were companies that basically got their customers through the mail. So we had a lot of different people from money managers, from fund managers to individual investors, which are most of the people that I've talked to over the years. And this particular investment philosophy, I think, doesn't get a lot of flash because it's relying on kind of the slow and sure. We have my moniker on Substack is the Tortoise King. Basically, the idea behind that is the tortoise is slow and sure wins the race. In the case of investing, you make your returns a little bit at a time, but very, very steadily, and it builds on itself over time. So, not the kind of thing that gets the flash, not the kind of thing that maybe you hear about on some of the big television stations like CNBC or others. But a system that I've developed over the years that's been extremely reliable and it's helped a lot of people to achieve their financial goals. So again, slow and steady wins the race. It doesn't necessarily get the flash.
How does AI uniquely democratize access to wealth building tools previously reserved for elites?
Yeah, I think, it definitely there's all kinds of things out there. And I think one thing AI can do is augment the kinds of things that I do. I can get my message out to a lot more people. So that's a very big advantage, I think, going forward. And I think from the standpoint of people being able to see the points of view of other people they might not have heard of, people that may not have been, on in a very high profile job. I was in a high profile job at one time. I still have a fairly high profile job, at least with the market niche that I operate in. But anyone can see anything and put their views out there. I think that's very positive. I think in terms of collecting data and information, I think we're still really not there yet, but I'm actually using AI quite a bit to help my business, to help streamline things, maybe do things that I don't want to do myself, but that can be done, within the parameters that I want them done. So again, I don't have a huge office, and others don't as well. So I do think that that is um, some way that AI is really helping democratize things. In terms of the stocks I recommend, it's huge. And it's not so much the names that people have heard of, it's kind of the picks and shovels, if you will. During the California gold rush back in the 1850s, the old adage there is that the people that made the most money in that gold rush weren't the people that found the gold, but the people who sold the people that were looking for it the picks and shovels that they needed to do that. So I like companies that are kind of the picks and shovels of the AI revolution. I'm talking about electricity generating companies in particular. I'm talking about companies that help that electricity be generated, natural gas producers and pipelines and that kind of thing, makers of infrastructure, the kind of hardware, owners of data centers, those types of things, rather than the big eight tech stocks everybody knows about and that have gotten very, very expensive in the current stock market.
Explain how energy dividends convert finite resources into perpetual community capital.
Well, I think they do that by, first of all, by consistency. Now, dividends are going to follow the growth of an underlying business. So, if you happen to own a company that is not growing and is not able to grow its dividend, then that's not happening. But there is another tool that we use in dividend investing that does build wealth in an accelerated pace, and that's the dividend reinvestment plan. It's a not something that a lot of people use, and only a small handful of companies offer them actually out of the total investment universe. But what you do with them is basically when they pay a dividend, it's automatically reinvested into more shares of stock. So that dividend then the next time around when another's paid, it's paid on more shares, and another dividend's paid, you get more shares. So it's called wealth compounding, and it's possible with dividend stocks. Not with so many, not with stocks that don't pay dividends, but if you have a company that's particularly paying a decent dividend, and when I say that, 5% is a pretty good number to build real wealth over a period of not that many years. And I've done this technique myself. I wish I'd actually bought a lot more of those dividend reinvestment plans 30, 40 years ago. But the ones I have, several of them making, most of them actually making more. I get more in dividends to reinvest than I originally, every year, than I originally invested in the stock. Friend of mine calls that lapping the investment with the dividend, but it's extraordinary. It just takes patience, and so you buy something and a little bit of foresight. And again, a lot of the emphasis in the stock market is on what can I make right now, what kind of what can make me 100% right now. Well, if you just take a step back, you be patient, and a little bit of planning, a little bit of foresight, put something aside, you can really build a lot of wealth over time just by not doing anything. And a lot of people don't make money in the stock market because they try to do too much, try to do too many things. And I think again, this is kind of an antidote for that. If you don't want to spend a whole lot of time, you know, fussing with your investments while you're working, um, then this is an ideal way to invest, invest to save, and the companies tend to be large and substantial, so you don't have to worry about them going under. Um, but over time, it's very surprising, how fast your money will build. So yeah, I think dividend reinvestment plans a tremendous way to put the power of compounding to work for you.
Indeed, the power of compounding, people. Avail it while you still can. How do
Absolutely.
AI, Mr. Roger, how do AI optimize dividend investment, accelerate wealth faster than traditional portfolios?
Well, I think how AI would help you do that. I think uh, you know it things are becoming more automatic, and that's a good question. I think again the best way to use AI, I think, would be to automate things that you don't want to do yourself. If you're looking for stocks, you can ask various questions to come about the stocks that you want. You can also ask individual people, but I think again, it's getting more information, being able to process it faster, and having something do that for you um, should help with your investment decisions. I do think there are other factors like your emotions, and your patience, and I think you have to take control of that. But it can definitely be a tool to help you make more, uh, help you do better, help you accelerate that wealth building.
Yes. Do it better, people. Do it better. Share a real community where energy dividends founded AI apps killing and creating a wealth flywheel, Mr. Roger.
Thank you. Well, I think again that uh, making wise choices, taking a little bit of time to pick your stocks, and again, that's what I try to help people do. With our program at Capitalist Times, um, and I think again, give us a shot. Check out Substack, um, see if you like what I write, and we'll take it from there.
Yes, indeed. So, how does this model force fossil fuel interest to fund their own disruption?
Well, fossil fuels are a pretty important part of our energy mix still. There are thoughts that we will be moving to other types of sources. I don't think we're necessarily at peak oil yet. And I do think that, again, you mentioned artificial intelligence. I think the proliferation of applications, the power and electricity that's needed at data centers to run these things. This is happening in real time, this demand growth. So that may actually extend some of the use of fossil fuels, and particularly natural gas, because that's um, the cheapest, the most plentiful. It's also has much fewer environmental externalities than, say, the traditional fossil fuel coal or even oil. I think renewables are renewables are the cheapest form of energy right now. If you look at things like solar plus storage and wind, you can deploy those things. A company can deploy those things, a large generation facility, in 12 to 18 months. And that's from the planning stage all the way till when it's hooked to the grid or to the off taker, the user of the power. If you look at any other fuel source, you look at natural gas, people are talking about, 4 or 5 years to get that done. And nuclear power, a decade or more. So renewables are definitely what people want to build right now. There's a lot of controversy about tax credits and so forth, and it looks like some of those are going to get rolled back in the United States. But if you look at what's happening all around the world, and even in the United States, even if tax credits go away, it's just so much cheaper to build an equivalent amount of energy using solar plus storage, plus battery storage, than it is to use anything else. And I mentioned like how fast you can get it built. That's critical because we're seeing more inflation. We're seeing things like tariffs, around and things that drive up costs. And the longer it takes to build something, the more expensive uh, that's going to be. So I think renewables have a huge advantage. It's just probably going to take longer than a lot of things you read, what a lot of people think, to have that become a bigger and bigger part of the power mix. And like I say, with artificial intelligence increasing demand for electricity around the world, um, natural gas probably has extended a bit. I mean, we are going to see more gas built, even though there are definitely limitations, right? I mentioned the longer building period, but there are other problems, like there's a shortage of labor to skilled workers that can build these gas turbines to run energy. So energy's become very political these days, but and that's another complication. I think it also kind of inhibits investment. It kind of means we're going to have less supply. I think prices probably go higher because of that. But if you look at things like, again, is definitely the cheapest thing right now. Gas paired with gas, that's more or less what most uh, companies in the U.S. are doing. It's what other countries around the world are doing as well.
Mr. Roger, what laws currently prevent scalable energy dividend models and where are they succeeding anyway?
What kind of laws prevent scalable models for 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 dividends and so forth and renewable energy? I mean, there right now, I guess, just sticking to the United States here, um, what you've had over the last 8 years or so is kind of a back and forth, and the government, particularly presidents, trying to get more involved in what sort of energy will be used. And during the first Trump administration, they made a big thing about coal use and more fossil fuels and so forth. During the Biden administration, it's all about renewables, and now we're back, where we were, 4 years ago. Um, and I think that when there's that kind of policy shifting around, it does make it more difficult for uh, investment to take place. For companies to say, okay, we can be confident that the regulatory regime is going to be the same, and that we can, uh, you know, in confidence invest, and the rules aren't going to be pulled out from under us. The and I think the United States has lost a little bit of that over the last 8 years or so. I think companies are definitely more cautious about what they build. Now, in the case of like solar, just the fact that you can build it so quickly, it means there's less risk than if a company makes a decision to build offshore wind or nuclear energy, that would take longer and the rules might change before the thing gets built. Uh, so I do think, again, that's an advantage, ironically, toward the source of energy that the Trump administration doesn't really like. But that is kind of the way things are, and I think we'll see more scarcity. I think if you look at China, that's a place where I think investment is being made with a lot of confidence because the rules aren't just constantly shifting around. And I think there you're seeing things built much cheaper than they're built in the United States. They've also scaled up certain industries where um, and what I mean by that is that there's been investment and production and all sorts of things that mean that, say, if I'm building a nuclear plant, I can have their workers available to build it. There's material, there's steel ready, that's available. And the United States has fallen a little bit behind on that. So I think that's why a lot of people talk about why are things able to be built so much cheaper in China than the United States. I think that's the primary reason. And if you look at, you know, the drivers of solar energy, say in the world, that's it. Those are major Chinese companies. So a company like Jinko Solar, for example, which has a presence in the United States. It's one of the larger companies here, but um, the U.S. is less than 20% of its overall revenue. I mean, it's big all around the world, and China's the most important piece. So I think, just getting back to that, the whole thing about shifting the rules, changing the rules. That's probably the most negative thing that you can do for investment in energy. Just the government taking a more active approach, changing the rules. It's very hard to make that kind of long-term decision that you can make if you're confident that you know decisions made, everybody's agreed to it, the rules are going to be the same, and you get this whatever you're building, you get it up and running. Not saying this, we can't go back to that in the United States. That's just not where we are right at the moment, and China is. So that's why the big Chinese companies are going to dominate some of these industries, and you know, for the foreseeable future.
Mr. Rogers, as helping working families and everyday investors, what are your short term and long term goals?
Well, my short-term goal, for this business, I'd like to reach out to more people. Long term, I want to keep writing and keep get better at my craft. I want to, uh, you know, become, learn. And there's always something in the investment business that I've found over 40 years that you can learn. There are always things happening, of course, but there are always things to learn. There's always new things happening. And, I definitely want to keep that's my goal. And of course, in terms of building wealth, yeah, I want to keep on doing what I'm doing. I'm, like the tortoise. I want to uh, continue to for myself as well as for others. Um, Build wealth the slow way, and like I said, like you said in the introduction, one dividend at a time. That's literally true. I mean, you look at each payment at a time. Or you can use it to buy more stock. You can harvest it yourself. You can use it to buy another company entirely. But you continue to build your wealth a steady way, and it works in all environments. I mean, we've had some pretty severe correction or market crashes in the time I've been in this business and advising people. The last really big one, well, of course, there was the pandemic year of 2020. The last really big and scary one was 2007, 2009. The global financial system really was back on its heels, and it was a time when a lot of people just abandoned the stock market, but that was also a great time to buy things. So you just never want to, because prices were very low. So you just never want to have too many emotional highs, too many emotional lows. And I think for me, that's one of my goals going forward for myself as an advisor and as an investor. And I think everybody, it's a goal for all of us, really.
Yes, indeed. Good luck to your goals, Mr.
Thank you.
Roger. And what would be your piece of advice for those people out there want to be like you?
I think again, just when you start investing in the market, just try to have a little what we call equanimity. Don't get too excited about things. Uh, Try to try to go out there, um, find find it, make build an investment portfolio over time. But conceive of this as like your health. We have to take care of our health, our physical health, and we have to take care of our financial health as we get older. And we just want to, not fret about it, not worry about it, but give it the due amount of attention. And again, try not to have too many emotional highs and lows with this. You're going to make mistakes. Not every stock's going to be a winner, but if you do stick with a consistent strategy, and if you stick with a strategy like a tortoise, in terms of investing, just steadily uh, stay on course, collect those dividends. You're going to come out okay. You're going to build real wealth. You're going to be able to reach a point at some point, particularly if you're younger and you're following this, where you'll have a very nice you'll have built a nice pool of wealth to live off of as well if you choose not to work. So
Thank you for your advice, Mr. Roger. And can you please recommend a book that influenced your journey?
a book to look at that I have found very influential over the years was a book called Contrary Investing. It's by a guy named Richard Band. I believe you can find it on Amazon. It's not in print. But that was a very influential book for me. Contrary Investing is basically, and you might have gotten this from listening to what I have to say, but it's basically looking for bargains where other people kind of fear to tread. Buying what no one else wants, looking for lows in the market. And then when things get very expensive, when everybody wants to buy something, that's the time when you look to maybe throttle back on it. So Contrary Investing, very influential book for me in my investment career going back. I also have another book that I wrote, and it's called Power Hungry, Strategic Investing in Utilities, Telecommunications, and Other Essential Services. That's also on Amazon. And if you're interested in the uh, utility business, which we all are customers, right? Um, that's a book I did a lot of research for, so uh, I do like that. And then another one would be more currently would be Wealth from the Wind and Sun. I've talked a lot today about energy and a lot about renewable energy, solar, and so forth. This is a book. It's got a lot of that I wrote. It's got a lot of facts, figures, and so on, and and background information on the business. So I think the more you find out about an industry, about a business, the better investment decisions you're going to make about it.
Thank you for your recommendation, Mr. Roger. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season, and food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast, Law 101 and Mental Health 101. Love Letters in third season, and Movie 101 Review and Music 101 in fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. And Mr. Roger, what visible signposts in the next 18 months will confirm this revolution is calling?
In the next 18 months, I think we'll be looking at higher prices for a lot of the utility stocks that I like. Um, I do as far as a signpost outside of investing. I think. I mean, that's a that's a good question, but that's basically what I'm concerned about. What sort of returns we can expect.
Mr. Roger Conrad, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your book, your advocacy, as well as your business?
Thanks, Daniel. Appreciate it.
So, where do people buy your book, Mr. Roger, or your business?
Well, you can go to conradsutilityinvestor.com. That's actually the picture that you've been showing is of that website. So that's a very good place to go.
Yes,
You can also go
people.
to Substack, and again, my post there is Dividends with Roger Conrad.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Roger Conrad, because if you support him, more and more empowering books to come, more and more empowering business to come. So, Mr. Roger, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your time.
More to come, people. See you soon.